Construction Monitoring Services.
Jim Brodick, Fire Chief.
Chick Langone, Technology Consultant with
Dave Sedgwick, Captain of the Raleigh Police Department.
Joe Perry, Selectman.
Okay, thank you very much. We got a number of items to discuss on the agenda. We haven't met for, I don't think we've had a formal meeting here since the building projects. Once we got the thing in motion, everything has gone along. I just do want to say that the project has really gone along very smoothly. We've had some weather issues in the beginning of the season that kind of held us up. But the construction company and the architect, Greg and Neil and his crew, have done a great job of moving things along. Debbie's keeping up with the building and all the administrative work, so we really appreciate the fact that things are going so well. And the two chiefs, Chief Broderick and the captain is here representing Chief Dumas, but they've been integrally involved on a regular basis with the construction company Castagna and with Greg Corral and Neil, et cetera, to make sure that the things that are particularly of interest in their buildings are being addressed. And we've had a few issues that have been brought forward. We've made a few minor changes, and we're here today to just kind of formalize all these things and deal with, give everybody an update of exactly what's going on. So with that, the first item on the agenda is discussing the paving entrance to Harris Park. This is a change order that I requested, really, in conjunction with the Parks and Rec Department. In other words, the entrance to Harris Park is not being changed. However, it's going through a lot of work with the big trucks and vehicles going in and out of there. Construction company is responsible to fix the paving that directly abuts Havel Street 133. However, I requested, and we're asking the committee to approve it, paving in through there's a lot, for those familiar with it, there's an island, and we want to pave about 10 feet beyond the island, so the cars pulling in and out of that playground area will have a solid surface. It'll minimize the amount of dirt and stuff that goes out onto the street, and it'll just clean the whole thing up and make it look neat. We're not going to pave the whole parking lot or anything like that, but it's important that we pave that entrance, and that'll be done at the same time that we pave the driveways and the parking areas in the two buildings when that time comes. So, anybody got any questions or concerns? Or I don't know, if we don't really have a price, do we? So we're not sure. The construction company Castagna was going to get us a price, but it shouldn't be huge. It's not a huge area. So what I'm looking for is just the committee the voting members to agree that we could go ahead and make that change order.
I don't have an issue with it.
I'll take a motion to.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We had the next item on the agenda is discussion. The Chief Broderick requested an extension on the fire tower for the stairwell inside there.
Stairwell.
We asked, you were on vacation last week, Chief, for the construction meeting. We asked the Corral Group to give us, if they could, to give us an estimate of what that cost might be.
Okay, the contractor's working on an estimate. We have a sketch of what we're talking about doing. I think there's a question that we have to look at as to, it's kind of a stairway to nowhere at this point. So it's really kind of a judgment call as to.
What the stairway is for is training. And what I was looking to do is that if we ever had, as long as we had a door up on top to simulate opening up, it's to practice stretching a charge line up a staircase, which we don't have an opportunity to do anywhere. And so the idea was to have it so you can go up to the top with a charge line and practice stretch moving the line up. It takes a little bit of practice to do. And so whether it goes anywhere isn't really as critical as having it with a door that I can open and have safety appliances there to keep people from falling out. That's what I'm looking for.
The door in question would be facing the roof of the building. I just wanted you to be aware of that. Because of the way the stair is configured, you would go up, but it's not going to be on the window side of the tower or on the street side of the tower. It'll probably face the roof side of the tower. So you could have an opening but you probably wouldn't be able to go through it, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Because you're going
Yeah.
out onto the roof.
But that wouldn't be the intention if
No, it was.
wanted to go through it at all.
Just maybe to squirt some water out the door at the end. would
Okay.
be What we're looking at.
Okay.
If you could maybe put, I don't know if there's an ability to maybe put a landing or something that you could stand on if we had to, but not going anywhere. It doesn't have to be a place that they go back down a set of stairs.
Okay.
So in other words, if you had like I'm gonna say a 10-foot 10 landing, is that what
Yeah.
would be appropriate, or something? I may not have the right size, but
You know, I don't know what the pitch of the roof would be like or anything, but if it's something that they could stand on, go through and stand on it and come back down the stairs at the end of the evolution.
Okay. Well, I understand what you're looking for. I'm going to have to come up with something on that.
Okay.
Okay.
okay, so based on that then, one of the things, and just jumping down for a second to number 9 out of order, which is discuss the change order proposal. Debbie and I have okayed a few small change orders, and we're just looking for the ability to okay change orders without having a committee meeting, because some of these change orders come up rather quickly, and we have to make a decision on them right away. And if we don't, we have to wait 2 weeks for this committee to okay it. It holds the whole project up. Some of these things come up the last minute, so we're looking to, what we say, up to 25,000, I think is what we were looking for Debbie and I to be able to okay. And obviously, at some point, we'll bring everything to the committee anyway, but it's just a matter of, like this, for instance, this is a prime one. The one we're talking about now is if the committee is in agreement, we'll see what the price comes up at, and if the price is agreeable, but Debbie and I would have the authority to say, okay, fine, go ahead. So is that, anybody object, or is there any other requests? Or
Just a comment that we use the same process on the Pine Grove School, and it works very well, and I think that's a great idea.
okay, yeah, just something we need to do.
I think so too. I think maybe a heads up to whoever it affects as to, all right, we got a problem or a change
Yeah.
order coming up. But yeah, I think that's an excellent idea, just to keep the ball
Yeah,
moving.
at this point, we've had a couple of things at the police station. The chief, he's there every day. The Chief Broderick, not
We
Broderick,
got
Chief
the
Dumas.
storage container, we did some tree cutting, and we did the fire department, the column.
And then there was a minor
And
change.
they were all under 5,000.
Yeah. And there was a minor change in the sergeant's office area. Originally, the design was three individual offices. The chief requested we make one office, which would be much more usable and much more user-friendly, and we okayed that one. I don't think that was, I think we're going to actually save money on that one.
That'll be great.
And then we added, chief wanted a window out the back, which we did add, so those are the ones, basically the ones we,
Well, we haven't, the ones that I recited are the ones that have been fully executed and paid.
yeah. So it's just small, at this point, it's just small items. Obviously, anything over 25 will come in and have a committee meeting, but we just wanted to be able to keep the big thing out there. And talking to the construction manager, Jason Sperry, is, he's moving and doesn't want to have to wait, because a lot of these things coming up now as the building's progressing, is if they have to wait 2 weeks to do a window or a door or some other thing, that holds up all kinds of other things. So we just want to make sure that the process keeps on going. So I'll take a motion
I'll make
to
that motion.
I'll second.
approve 25,000. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And going back to, so on the fire tower, you're going to get, anybody have any objections to the fire tower?
I have none.
If it's within reason, so I'll take a motion to approve that pending
I'll make that
price
motion.
agreement. Are you a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. The next one is the police station carport columns. I know the chief wanted to change the columns in there. Greg, when I talked to you at the construction meeting last week, you were talking that was gonna cost somewhere in the area of $25,000 or $30,000 to
Correct.
change that column around. And we need to have a little discussion on that.
If I may, Greg, it
Yeah, go ahead.
was my understanding the original design didn't have the 2 additional support columns, and that's,
I don't know. I don't remember what the what the original design showed. I mean, we're dealing with schematics at that point, so I'd have to go back and look at exactly what was there. The issue that we encountered during design, when we were putting the documents together, was that to support that roof, full length, was going to require a very deep piece of steel. And we were getting concerned that the clearance underneath that steel might be a problem for vehicles to get under it. So we elected to, both in terms of saving money and also to solve that as a problem, to install some vertical supports. That's kind of where they came from. I understand the concern.
Yeah. Well, Greg, we understand the design. Our concern was is that without those 2 additional support columns, we could fit 2 additional cars underneath that that overhang. Also, the potential for damage to the cars hitting those columns could be a concern in the future as well. So that's why we brought it up. We thought we saw it on the original design that there was no additional support columns, so that was our concern.
I'd have to go back and look. I really don't recall.
Okay.
No, I get it. I think right now, with the way the column spacing is arranged, granted, there's 18 feet between the 2 middle columns. So that's technically two parking spaces. You
Right.
can't get 2 cars in there and then a car on each side. So it will handle 4 cars right now, albeit parked carefully. But,
Right.
you know, without the columns, you'd end up with an extra car. You'd have 1 more. So.
Okay.
I mean, we can investigate making the change. I mean, I can do the engineering on it and do that. I didn't, this came up and we were going to, Chief Dumas suggested, well, you know, they're putting a roof on there, we should probably stop and see how we're gonna do this. The foundations are in, the steel was there. By the time we get, if we were to move forward and make a change to this thing, it's going to take some time. So rather than get in the way of the contractor who is going great guns out there, I really didn't want to slow him down. You know, his performance, the framing crew and what have you, were doing such a good job that if we have to come back, you know, temporarily shore up the end of the roof and do some surgery to the front, we can do that. And we'd probably have had to do that anyhow if we were going to make a change.
Okay.
So that's why we didn't stop.
Right.
So what we're talking about basically is, and this was an add-on, this wasn't part of the original, this was part of the original bid, but it was an add-on depending on how much money we had.
Right, it was an alternate.
At this point, you gave me anyway, a guesstimate of $25,000 or $30,000 to add one covered parking space.
Right.
Which I kinda, probably be nice to have it, but for $25,000 or $30,000, I mean, the police department has had all their cars parked wide open for 20-odd years, and obviously we'd like to be able to, it's a real convenience to be able to park underneath an overhang, particularly in the winter with snow, et cetera. But I don't think at this point I would be in favor of, changing for both the time it's gonna take and the amount of money it's gonna cost for one additional car underneath the overhang.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Making the change, if you wanted to make the change, is not a time-sensitive thing right now. We can, the accessibility to do the work isn't going to effectively change probably until you pave, which is going to be towards the end of the project. And even then, you could back it off. You have a comfortable contingency right now. Let us design a solution to this, and we can get a price for it, and, you know, a real price for it, and put it on in the file. And at the end of the project, if there's money left and you're still within budget and you've got a comfortable contingency left, you can make the decision at that point, and you'll have some real numbers to deal with. It's surgery that we could perform later on.
So would we be talking about taking the beams down to there, or just adding an additional beam underneath?
It would probably be, the way I would attack it is that we'd leave them there, put something new behind them, and then take them down.
Okay.
Use them as shoring, basically. Because the way they're designed right now, there are other structural issues that have to be,
Right.
we can't just take the columns out and weld the thing on it. There are moment connections and a bunch of.
Yeah, at this
technical
point,
stuff.
because everything's in the ground already, and it's already attached to the building.
But we can
The
invent
rafters are
something.
coming across, so it's not just a simple matter of, oh, wait a minute, we'll dig the
Yeah.
footing out and put a new one in and
Yeah.
put a different beam in there. Well, maybe we'll take a look at laying this on the table at the moment
Can,
I think that would be a
and
good
come
idea.
up, I mean, obviously, right now, with everything I've seen, and correct me, Debbie, and Neil, who's watching over the process for us, I think we've been, the change orders and the budget items, everything's come in really, really very well. And we're very, very pleased with the pricing we've gotten and the minimal amount of minor change orders, which are part of any project. This is the biggest one, actually, at this point, that we want to consider, so I'll take a motion to lay it on the table. Greg can
want to
come up
give
with
you
some pricing and a plan so that we can take a look at everything.
Okay.
And at the appropriate time, if we're going to be paving, paving is probably going to be late summer, early fall.
I would think that the binder may go in sooner, but it probably won't go in until the buildings are framed and we start doing a little bit more site work. We've got a few
Okay.
more things to go in the ground, and once that's done, I think the contractor intends to put binder down.
Okay. Well, if you come up with a design and a price, Greg, the next time we meet,
I move we table.
we can
Second.
probably make a decision then. At least we'll have a lot more information, and at that time, it'll give us time to see what other change orders might be coming up, because I know there's a couple of the fire department interior is, the roofing's just starting, and you got a lot of, your building is really starting to go at this point into the more minutia of what you might be interested in, and maybe some changes indicated there, so, okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So you can tell the chief we'll revisit that at a later point, and, he may get it, may not, depends on.
We won't drop that. We'll stamp that on.
The other big item, the next one, is discuss the upgrade of the communication center. Now, we talked about this way back in the beginning, and the assumption was the chief asked for, it came in before we okayed the final designs, et cetera, that we weren't sure that the upgrade of the dispatch center would come within the budget, and we certainly didn't want to lose the building or have to go out to rebid the building based on the cost of the communication center upgrades. So, as a result, the building came in quite a bit under what we anticipated, something in the order of $1 million, if I remember right. And so, in talking to the chief, two chiefs, because actually, although it's in the police station, obviously it affects the response for the fire department as well as water, highway, everybody goes through that dispatch center up at the station. So our goal at that time was we'll revisit this once we knew that we would have some extra money, not extra, but available money. We got somewhat into the project, so we would see if we were coming within budget or whatever, those kind of things we were just talking about, the change orders. It might be wise at that point to bring up the discussion of the dispatch center, because what that will involve, and we'll let Chick get into the details of it, or Greg, it'll involve setting up a temporary trailer in the back parking lot at some point and moving the dispatchers out to that for, I don't know how long a period of time would be. And we're already doing some minor building modifications within the old police station. The dispatch center isn't moving, it's staying within the cell block, and the dispatch center is staying where they are. They're not being moved or rebuilt. But this will allow the police department to modernize the dispatch center, the equipment that's in it, and I think it would allow for an extra dispatch position
That's correct.
Especially during busy times, or if we have a crisis, or like when we had the flooding back in May that year, or recent storms we've had with snow and ice. It requires power. That last power outage we had rarely requires at least 2 dispatch positions, because the place gets very busy up there, as well as they handle calls for lights and stuff like that. So we're putting that on the table to discuss that and what the cost is going to be, and I hopefully it'll come in within that budget that we can approve, because it's an essential thing. If we don't do it now, a year or 2 down the road, we're going to have to do it anyway. So as long as we all kind of anticipated we'd be doing it, it was just a matter of how much money within that original appropriation. And it appears right now that we're going to have enough money to be able to do this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Greg and Chick.
I'll let Chick
Whatever.
walk through the scope.
I got a handout here, I might not.
I printed it off.
Print it out?
Yeah.
You have
I'll
Print
take
out.
one. If
Let me-
somebody else needs it, I'll give it to someone else.
I make copies.
Yeah, we can make a copy if we have to.
I think we have enough.
I think we got
Yeah,
it.
if you got an extra.
Here's an extra one. Everybody? Everybody all set?
Yep.
Oh, all right.
You need one.
Okay.
You got one? You got it in your memory, right? You got this memorized?
Maybe years ago. Let me just outline how I approached this. Back last summer, had generated 2 technology budgets, one for fire, one for police. On the summary sheet here, the first page, I show those. They're roughly 500,000 they came up to. I updated that based on the latest information and show the new fire station, police station budgets. One of them dropped quite a bit because my original budget had included a much higher tower, and it came in a lot lower, so I adjusted my budget. But what I added for June 2018 was the cost, as I see it, for the budget to outfit the police station dispatch center. And the cost, let me just qualify, the cost does not include the trailer or conduits of power. Hopefully, my
It
associates.
doesn't include the temporary moving and then moving
Well,
back.
it includes moving the equipment. It doesn't include the facility itself, the trailer, or getting power to it, or a couple of conduits between the existing building and the trailer. So,
Okay.
but it does include all the technology, as well as moving some of it, a little bit of it would move out as well as come back, and that's primarily the fire alarm display. All the radio, the current dispatch furniture, radio equipment, controls, all that would be replaced. So it would move out, but not move back. It would be replaced by new equipment. And I can go through that detail, and let me just give you the info on. If you look down on the next pages, on the lower left, that tells which update it is. It is June. The second page is the fire station June update, which is the 137,280. The next 2 pages are the police, updated police budget, 330,000, that's June. And then the next page is the police dispatch. Okay, hopefully I didn't lose anybody. So the number of 304,700 is for the police dispatch upgrade, and I can go through quickly the highlights of what that is. It's, we're assuming that the 911 equipment will be moved in and out in the trailer and back out by the state 911, and I've not included any cost for that. Typically, they do that. Haven't got a confirmed statement one way or another. I did inquire, but I have not received anything. I don't know if Neil or Scott, have you had any recent examples? Yeah.
We've had a lot of recent examples, but we've never been made aware of a cost associated with it, so. but we haven't contacted 911 specifically for this project.
So
No, okay, understood, but typically they don't charge and,
they come in and move the equipment
right, well, they.
as part of the statewide 911 system?
Right, as you know, they provide equipment free of charge.
Right.
And in this case, moving it temporarily back and forth, we don't anticipate that to be a cost.
Okay,
They've always assumed the cost in the past.
okay.
Right. And the budget includes moving existing positions out to the trailer. And as I said, it wouldn't be coming back. Item 3 is the new furniture that the dispatchers would have. There's 2 positions. It's state-of-the-art, and it basically has a capability of 7 different monitors. I have a picture if you'd like to
It's
see
all
it.
right, we can look at it after.
Okay. The next, item 4, is the actual electronics which would control the dispatcher would sit in front of a LED screen and would be able to control the radios. We're looking at initially probably 9 of them. The current equipment is button and LEDs, what we call, it's mechanical buttons. That's all current state-of-the-art is computer workstations, and that's what we have here. So there's 2 of those, 1 for each position. There's also, the fire chief had asked for what we call a fire station alerting system, and that, under the new equipment, is integrated with the same radio console equipment, and that allows the dispatcher to track the status of the vehicles at the fire station, as well as be able to alert the station with tones, and they ramp up depending on, turn on red lights in the bunk area and open the station doors. So that equipment is part of that. And that's 5 and 6. 5 is kind of the equipment that goes at the police station, and 6 would be the compatible equipment that go at the fire station. The 7 and 8 are kind of backroom pieces of equipment to control everything. 9 through 17 are the radios, new radios that would be down in the basement that would talk to on the police frequency, on the fire frequency, individual radios that would be able to communicate with surrounding town police departments or surrounding town fire departments, as we call it, interoperable type communications. One of the radios would be for the District 5, right?
15.
Or 15.
Same.
Oh, okay.
515 is basically the same.
All right. So there'd be radio equipment, they'd be able to communicate with that. And these are kind of the same capability you have now, but this is with new equipment. A capability to talk on the Baypern system, which is the Boston area police emergency radio network. So that equipment available, equipment that would talk on the electric light frequency. Another one that would actually have I guess a brand new piece of equipment for the DPW water frequency, and so this would be equipment to interface, and so you don't to reuse that new equipment, and also radio to talk on either the state 800 system or still Seabrook. Still, you guys have
Communications with Seabrook? Yeah.
right. So that this other
That's Seabrook nuclear plant you're talking about.
Correct.
yeah for alert. So there's equipment that would be able to also be used for that. The rest of item 18 is a large monitor the chief wanted to have in the dispatch center to put up the video, all like video cameras, the cells, and inside the building, outside the building, and at some point maybe bringing in school capability. So this was a really large monitor that he thought would kind of in the area where the glass is now, that would have to be a solid wall. That's what he was talking about, so, which was important. Item 19 and 20 are related to the existing fire alarm system. 100 milliamp, I guess is the term that's used. That equipment, as I understand it, is going away after,
It's going to start being phased out.
so, yeah, so there's effort to move that, because you need to run cable out. And we do have some new equipment. I'm not totally sure that maybe we're gonna need it all, especially since it's being phased out. But I included it in here. I'm not sure how long there's some equipment at the current fire station that, I'm not sure it can be moved. Form 4 can be moved.
The Form 4 can be moved, because the wire does go up to the current police station. I would probably say leave it where it's at, and the only thing that you probably have to move is the digital readout in the current dispatch center out to the
Right.
trailer.
Right. And that has to go back, because you know,
Right.
right, because, yeah.
The actual time phase of the 100 mil system going away is all gonna be contingent on when we do the transition on the town buildings. Because once that gets completed, then that's when everybody else is gonna be notified. So that could be 2 years down the road before that even starts. The Form 4 that we have right now is working well, and probably, if we had to, we could probably move it up there, but probably, I don't know if it's really necessary at this point.
Okay, so that might be something that could save on,
Maybe wait until we get closer to it.
Yeah.
If we
We have
include it
to-
in the budget, if we don't spend it, that's
Yeah.
good.
If not,
But we
then
need to
could
include it just to make sure that,
Never hurts.
we'd rather include it than not, and then have to come up later and look for more money.
and I have, item 21, I think this cost was actually included in one of the other costs, but in talking with the chief and the captain, this is to reuse one of the existing police dispatch consoles, the mechanical buttons, and put it over at the fire station to mirror what's going on at the police station as kind of a backup. So that's something that we
Okay.
included, as well as some speakers throughout the police station I added in here too. So that's in a nutshell what, in my mind, is the police
Right.
dispatch center. And as I said, it does not include the actual trailer and
Right.
that site type work.
How long would it take, how long would be the rental period? Because we'd have to get a price for the trailer, but,
Yeah, good question. It all depends on, I guess, the construction,
yeah.
within the building and how that phases in. I guess it'd be more than a month, 2 months.
Yeah, because it's just looking at the number and trying to realize what we need to add on to that, 304.
So I only had two real questions. The first one was, structural and/or cosmetic changes to the existing room are obviously not included in this number. This is strictly technology.
Correct, right.
All right, so there's an element there that has to be
Right.
a little further defined. And then, related to the equipment, will it change, what we have running right now to the new tower? Or would we need more, infrastructure in the way of conduits or pathways from the existing PD to the new tower, other than what we have planned already?
Right now, you have, I think, planned, it's like 12 antennas
Correct.
connecting to the basement.
Yeah.
And, no, no, there shouldn't be any impact there. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, the two items that actually, the finish is in the room, of course. And any change in the power requirements for this equipment?
The new equipment?
Yeah, we don't know. Is there electrical power per se that needs to be brought to these things that we may or may not have?
Right through the floor, yeah,
And data and telephone.
yes,
Yeah.
right, and which, was a good point. All that, what we call premise cable, the low voltage cable, and that, those costs were in the facility budget that you have,
It's already budgeted under the
correct,
original
yeah,
plan.
right, well, you know, like, police station had updated is like a couple of hundred drops, and the fire station, I think, was
Covers the
But-
news.
a
but
little
that-
less than that.
But that Cat 6, whatever it is, accommodates the new dispatch equipment, or it just terminates in that area and then it just...
Yes, I mean, it's set up to accommodate that, plus the vendor, the radio vendor would have some additional special, what I would call special cabling, but, that all should be, you know, factored in already.
Okay.
Right, but the bulk of the premise cabling would be for offices and, you know, in both buildings, and that's under the facility budget.
Okay.
Chick, you mentioned that your conversation with the chief, you discussed a 75-inch display where a window is. Now, I don't know if that can't happen for whatever reason, aesthetically or whatever. The $2,000 you have in for that display might be a little bit low if you had to add multiple displays in a soffit or something. And also you had a 65-inch display with a mount for 2,000 elsewhere in the budget, so I would just say that line item there, we might wanna, if we're setting a not to exceed or something, we should probably increase that number a bit for the displays.
What kind of a window are we talking with that? And good thing you brought that up. Are we talking about where the public comes in and discuss?
No, it's the window that looks towards where the chief's office is. It's kind of rectangular window.
Okay, so
It's up high. It's not a regular window.
So it's an internal window, not
Oh, yeah,
not
okay,
something
I know
that
where you
deals
are.
directly
Yeah,
with the public.
well, let me show you the picture of, I mentioned this earlier. This is the public window, and the chief mentioned he'd probably want to turn this, both positions are looking this way. It's the window along here,
Oh, okay.
That's just the
Right,
forward. Yeah, that's,
which is the corridor basically coming in.
All right.
that would go under cosmetic changes that we might have to make. That's not a big deal.
I just think that the commercial, like a commercial NEC display, a 75-inch might, with a mount and installation, and might be a little bit, 2,000 might be a little bit low for that.
Okay. I mean.
It's not, I mean, it's not a lot,
I mean, there is a
the budget, but,
percentage at the end there, the
Mhm.
planning contingency.
gotcha, see that, it's good.
So we, you know, however we, but, yeah, that's, you're probably right.
What are we talking about in terms of additional architectural cost to design, the design cost of, is anything on your part, Greg, or is
There
your
may be.
price include, I mean, how are we?
This technology.
How is this all being, who is designing what, and at what cost to the project?
The architectural costs are going to be nominal. They're not, I can give you some numbers, but it's not, we're basically just finishing a room, you know. Probably drawing some elevations and showing where the stuff is going. We'll coordinate this with Chick as far as that's concerned. I don't think that should be a big deal. We'll break it down for you. It's not going to.
Right.
One of the big advantages is that the dispatch sits above the basement, so all the cabling can come through the floor, so.
It's all right there.
Right, yeah, so that makes it real easy for all the vendors and technology.
We've had some discussions with Castagna, the building contractor, And we haven't got a firm, we need to, if we're gonna do this, we need to determine when this would occur. As Debbie mentioned, how long. A rental trailer is less of an issue than it is, I think, anyway, in my mind, if we're gonna do it, it'll probably be for somewhere 30 to 60 days, I'm guessing. And it's a matter of how this fits in with the building project, so we don't hold up the contractor and he can just kind of seamlessly keep moving forward by adding this on. Obviously, we gotta get some additional costs and some estimates.
Chick, under sort of the best case scenario, do you envision this being a weekend-long process to relocate from one to the other, or is that a week-long process, or?
I would say, yeah, weekend type, yeah, I mean, you know, people that do this do it a lot, you know, and recognize that the minimal downtime, I mean, you got two positions, so you move one at a time, and, you know, it's 911, you know, that, I don't know, scheduling them if that's, but their work shouldn't be, because the main equipment's gonna stay where it is, and it just extends.
Unplug it, move it. plug
Well,
it
yeah,
back in.
right, hopefully it comes back up.
Hopefully.
No, where were you envisioning the trailer? In the front area or the back, or,
I think we thought about the front, actually.
We thought the front would be,
I mean,
Yeah, because I was gonna bring up, we need public access, we gotta determine, people come in the station and make a complaint, or, you know, bail out a prisoner, or whatever, we need to make sure we're accounting for public access during this transition period too, so out front, I think, would be probably where it's gonna go, and that would be the least interference. And I think Jason was talking, or Abe were talking about the fact that this would be done before in conjunction with the remodeling of the front entryway, or before, or just, I think that's where the key comes in, is coordinating this with the reconstruction of the front of the station for the lobby and the front door and so on and so forth, so.
Yeah, it all affects that area.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think what I'm looking for at this point, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, is this look like something that we want to do? And it's a matter of coming up with some more pricing and some more information on things like the trailer and some of the minor points. I think if we've got $1 million more or less in that the budget came in under, we're talking 304 here, as well as, you know, say 400,000 would be used out of that to accommodate this. And obviously I say that with the idea that if we don't do it now, as part of this project, we're gonna definitely have to do it in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. So I think with a new station, it's like doing a project at home. You do everything but change the furniture. When it's all done, you say, wait a minute, why didn't we change the furniture? So, I mean, the time to do it is now, I think, anyway, and it's just a matter, we have the money, it appears we have the money, and does everybody agree with me or disagree at this
Well,
point?
I agree.
I agree, the system, we were kind of banging our heads around, and the system that's in there now is over 10 years old. It seems like it wasn't that long ago, but it is, and you're right. Now's the time to do it, not wait 2 years, because one, it's gonna cost more. And then it's gonna cause a bigger disruption to the operation than you already have, so, and now's the time to have the disruption when you have it.
right.
And not have a second one. And if there's enough money to do it, we should do it.
Take advantage of it.
So I would say move forward and get the hard numbers, and
So at this point then, anybody else? Neil, what do you, Greg, or anything you want to add?
I would only say that if you elect to move forward with this, I think the next step would be to solicit bona fide proposals from the vendors. Most of these folks are on the state bid list, so we would engage, you know, select people to actually do it, get real proposals, real prices, so that we can actually pull the trigger on the work.
And the other question I had for you, Chick, is sometimes you have to order this electronic equipment. What's the turnaround time? Is it most of this off the shelf or pretty much available?
probably, I guess a mixture of both. I would say some of it could be 8 weeks, 12 weeks. Usually, the other thing the vendors like to do is set up, something like this, they like to set up in their, get all the equipment in, set it up at their location, and run the, make sure everything's working before they bring it out. So, that adds a little bit of time, but it's.
So I guess it's important that we make a decision, because if you're talking 8 weeks, that puts us into July, August, and by then we want to be probably starting to make the transition, so. I'm not sure the best, Debbie, maybe you can suggest if we, say, the 304,000 at this point, understanding that there are gonna be additional costs, like, because I think Chick needs to start,
Well,
like
let
you
me
said, Greg, we need to start
qualify
getting prices.
something that you
Okay,
asked me
yeah.
earlier, and think, the new equipment, to move into the trailer, you don't need the new equipment, right? So,
Right.
we're moving the old equipment.
Right.
It's after the dispatch center's all completed, that, so, yeah, so that, just wanna make sure that, I didn't misrepresent that,
No, no.
whatever, right? We're moving old things into the trailer, and
not bring it back.
a couple of things might come back, but most of it's
Most of it.
staying, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg and Neil. In other words, if we do this, we are probably looking at this to be, the dispatch part of it to be completed by, I'm gonna throw a date out there, November 1st or December 1st. In other words, that's gonna be done before we actually look at moving into the new building. Or at that point, it may be some ability to move into the new building, but
I think I would guess that. I think you'd want your dispatcher up and running before you actually completed occupancy.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that'd be important.
I mean, there'll be people running around and painting and things in other places. but-
Yeah, no, people need to understand during this transition period for the people who work in the department as well as the public that, I mean, has there been any problems at this point, Chief, with the public moving around up there, getting access to the,
We sometimes find people wandering around the back lot, but we reel them in, so.
pretty much,
yeah,
so we
we're pretty
appreciate
good.
the fact that the police have been willing to work out of that small building during this transition time. So I guess, what would you suggest, Neil or Debbie, the best way forward is to, I mean, I want to make it solid enough so that Chick can start getting equipment out, but we got a $304,000 proposal here, and we know that there will be, like I say, it may be up to 400,000. I don't know, it may, hopefully not that much, but by the time you put a trailer in there and some odds and ends, and he's got a 10% contingency in here, so maybe, if we don't spend a lot of that, then that'll, but I mean, I think if we want to do it, I think we need to get the process going right away so that the department knows that they can start, the chief and the captain can start looking at how we're going to make this transition happen, which is going to be complicated, I'm sure, as well as ordering the equipment and with you, Greg, making the design, whatever design information you got to get. And also, we'll be going to a construction meeting shortly. Let Castagna know that we are going to move ahead on this, and what do they need us to do to fit it into their construction schedule? I think that's an important part of this, too.
I agree.
So,
Dave, just if you wanna just look at the budget.
yep,
It's been updated through May 31st, I think that's important, so you can see, kind of what you've spent and some of the other things we talked about today, and then what you have available.
okay, so maybe you can explain this, Debbie, without, it's,
Yeah. Well,
looking at numbers here, I'm not a numbers person, so.
so we have that project development contingency,
Right.
and that's your balance
That's
is
$1.2 million,
one-
right? That's the over and above the,
1.2, not
okay.
anything else.
That's the next to the bottom line, two lines up from the very bottom total project budget, that we're looking at that line.
Yeah.
So we've
So I
taken,
mean, if you feel comfortable with it, then, I think saying 400,000 at this point and give everybody the go-ahead, because I think we need the true solicitation out there and see the
Yeah.
actual amount, because you have trailer, the moving is paid for, but, the conduits or whatever else that comes up.
Yeah, there'll be other
Um,
costs.
If everybody feels comfortable
so
with that
if we
number,
authorize
Yeah.
400,000 at this point, if the committee votes for that, that should be That sound, Chick, you're pretty firm with your numbers? I mean, I understand that, you know,
I mean, I
I think the important thing is that we haven't forgotten something that comes in, oh, wait a minute, we got 20,000 more here for something that, you know, it happens sometimes, that things get left out or whatever, but,
I would just reemphasize that these are very preliminary.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
based on what we think is a realistic scenario. Prices may and likely will vary, and, we may revisit it for additional funding as needed.
well, I think what I'd like to say is, if, you know, I'm okay personally with saying 400,000. What I would like to see is an update on a regular basis from Chick and Debbie, whoever, I don't know who's gonna deal with the trailer issue, but as we get estimates and actual costs of equipment and stuff, that we are fed that information so that we don't get to the end and find out, oh, wait a minute, we're 20,000 over, or hopefully we'll be 20 or 30,000 under, but I don't wanna get hit at the end with all of a sudden a big bill, but if as we're going along, we can make adjustments. I think we got probably enough money to be able to do this without
We
a
can
problem,
set-
but we just wanna keep a real close handle on it, because this is a big add-on that we didn't have in the beginning.
We can
We're lucky
set
that
up
we
a-
can do this.
We can set up sort of an interim budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Break it down and just track everything as the pricing comes in.
Yeah, I think I would appreciate that. What do you think, Joe? That
I
sounds-
think that's a good idea.
And that way go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the $400,000 for the dispatch center upgrade.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much. And just to let people know and the committee know that Chick has been working with both the fire chief and the police chief on this, as well as Neil and Greg, so that, you know, it's a coordinated thing, and I don't know if you've had much dealings with Castagna up to this point, but it's a
On the
team.
last job, right.
It's a team effort, and it really is moving forward. This is something that, for the town, for the public safety needs of the community, this is something we need to do now, and it's something that, you know, along with these buildings, is gonna give us 25 to 50 years we'll all be gone before the next vote has to come on, hopefully, anyway. And the other thing is, just looking at the way things are going, the weather issues, you look all over the country, the weather's crazy. And there's all kinds of crazy, you know, there's school issues and fire department catastrophe. It seems like every day someone's dying in a fire somewhere in the North Shore or greater Boston area. Just the whole thing is crazy, and it's getting crazier. So it's really essential for public safety that we give our departments the best equipment that they can get. And up to date, we have the money for it. It's part of included in the original override for the building, and it's just critical that we do this. And the other thing I've noticed on a couple of comments made around town about the fact that we're part of the budget process that we're facing at the town meeting is we're winding back a little bit the sergeant's position in the police department, and the 2 firefighters were delaying the hiring of those. But the 2 chiefs have been involved in those discussions, and yeah, we'd like to get them now, but it's not, one of the comments made was, well, we're building a big fire station, we're not gonna have enough firefighters. Well, you know, there's always gonna be a problem with call firefighters, because they're just not always in town, but the hiring of the 2 additional firefighters will move ahead, assuming that town meeting article moves ahead, but we can handle it, the chiefs can handle it under the current situation, and we'll make, like everything else, we'll make do and do the best we can. I don't see public safety suffering a lot. Over time it will, but it will be able to put things together, so.
Yeah, and that's a screening process that takes some
Right.
time anyway, so they weren't ready to go on the payroll July 1st, so there's an assessment of candidates and all kinds of things that both the chiefs have to do, and with the new firefighters, there's actually even more. Plus, he's got to do the logistics for moving to the new fire station, so the chief was very comfortable, fire chief, with the March 1st date in that budget to put the new firefighters on the payroll.
Yeah, it's better than having any.
It's a very
months.
thorough process, and the same with the sergeant promotion. It's, so a couple of months gives them actually some more time to.
In particular, the fire chief's been asking for a number of years for additional firefighters, so this year we accommodated that, and there's a slight delay, isn't gonna affect it, but just to let people know that It's all these things are all part of the big picture and the part of the building project. They're outside the project, but they're an important part of it. All right, with that, number 6 is discuss the change to placement of the window at the police station. We've already agreed to that, so I think we can take that off. That'll be coming, the chief, I think he's aware of that. You can make him aware that.
He's aware of that.
We're actually not relocating it. We're giving you an extra.
Additional, right?
Adding a window, I think the cost was
Which I
around
think,
It was a wash.
$1,000. Yeah, it was $1,000, but it washes with the removal of the walls and the doors, and so that's
It's
basically
gonna,
a wash.
it's gonna make the backside of that look better too.
Yeah.
Just didn't, taking away that window,
Yeah, big blank wall there now.
didn't look right, but.
All right, just to move on, because we got another meeting to go to, the timeline for breaking through the existing police station wall, I'm not sure if we're ready for that yet.
I think a lot of that's gonna be dependent on what happens with the dispatch center.
Okay.
Because that becomes the main thoroughfare into the addition part of the building, so that'll be coordinated through Castania.
It's sometime down the road. In other words, I wouldn't anticipate that before. The dispatch center's got to basically be done, and it's just a matter of, because I know the chief was concerned about files and file cabinets and
Obviously,
security.
the more time frame that we were given
Yeah,
before you broke through, the better it would be for us. But if we're gonna have to coordinate, with dispatch, we're also gonna have to coordinate with, state 911, so.
right.
All those, but it sounds like we have a plan in place.
Yeah, we got the plan, and I think as long as the chief knows that it's actively on our radar, and it's just something at this point we can't be sure. I think the big thing is going to be how the dispatch center works out, and then luckily that should happen fairly quickly once you break the wall down. And it shouldn't take more than a few days, I would think, other than painting, some of that stuff. It shouldn't be a big problem, I wouldn't think. In fact, there was some discussion that the chief might be able to be in his office, his new office by that time, or pretty close to it anyway. All right, so just to move on, then, we did the change orders, set the next meeting date, review project budget and project timeline. Is there we're on time within the budget at this point?
Yeah, right now, we're still forecasting completion in January, and, the budget summary went out, we're still well
Right.
within our expected.
Okay, no, that's good. Next meeting date? Why don't we wait and see? Why don't we wait and?
Would be enough.
Let's wait and see what we get from, the biggest issue right now, unless something comes up, the biggest issue is the dispatch center. So why don't we wait and we'll set up
Yeah.
a meeting at a later time when we have some real cost figures on the dispatch center and the trailer and so on and so forth. That's okay with everybody?
Yeah, thanks.
Anybody got anything else they want to bring up?
Well, I'll just give it to Greg. This is the contact for the air compressor for the
Oh, good.
SCBA movement.
Thank
He's
you.
the one that will answer all the questions you have. I'll also, names are thrown out. Castagna's project manager, can't think of his name right now.
Jason?
Jason, there you go. He sent me the information on the washer system that they ended up doing for Littleton. It's it's the same brand that I was looking at, but it's a bigger system, so if that's all within the price range, I have no problems with the washer and dryer that they're proposing.
One of the things, Chief, I brought it up at the last construction meeting was I'd seen an article in the Globe, I think it was, regarding certain washing machines that need to be, I think the state was gonna give some grant money eventually to towns and cities to upgrade their washing equipment to conform with new standards. And my point was I wanted to make sure that if we're buying this equipment at this point,
This is
let's
all
make
being-
sure we have the upgrade,
Yeah.
and so we don't, a year from now, we're not going
This-
back and
this
buying a new
all-
washing machine for
This all
the.
meets the current NFPA standard for gear washing and drying. I don't, I think what they were talking about was a lot of departments previous to this big thing on cancer were buying commercial grade
Okay.
washers that really aren't designed
Could
to.
you just do me a, we're in a hurry now, could
Yeah.
you just do me a favor and research that a little bit
Yeah.
so that, I'd rather buy the biggest, not the biggest, but the best at this point, so we're not replacing it a year or two
Yeah.
down the road, and it provides the proper safety for our
Yeah.
firefighters, which is a critical need. All right, anything else?
That's it for me.
Take a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.